Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
YouTube channel. That's what this is. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Like our podcast below in the description.
Yeah, subscribe to that too.
Do it.
All right, what do we think? We talked about Kyle Shanahan beat McVay. So did Brian Flores. And Tua, completing 12 passes. Beat Belichick. So have four other teams this year. What could he do against Pete? And so I thought it was not his finest performance. Now, understand, I think Kyle's fantastic. Not pretty good. Not I'm waiting to see. I think he's top tier, elite level. But there were a couple times today where you could just tell he was scratching the bottom of the barrel, right? He runs on a 3rd and 5. The direct snap to McKinnon. Was he trying to hand it to Coleman? It was an awful play. Didn't work.
Is that where they flexed Jimmy Garoppolo out wide?
I don't remember where Jimmy was. I just remember it was a direct snap to McKinnon.
So Jimmy starts the shotgun.
Yeah.
McKinnon slides over. He runs out, and Ayuk comes over.
It was like
a
read play, but they ran into each other. And then
it was a disaster.
The throwback to Trent Taylor, where Jimmy and the tight end are rolling right. I haven't rewatched the play. I'm like, oh, this is just going to be an easy dump off 6 yards here. And then it's like a throwback. Everybody, the whole defense is over there. And you go, my thought watching it reminds me of like Warrior fans get mad when a bunch of guys get hurt on the Warriors, but you still have like KD and Clay, let's say, aren't playing, but you got Steph. And instead of just trying to feed Steph and get 48 points, they still just run their offense and just treat Nick Young like he's Clay and treat Patrick McCaw like he's Clay, right? And there's Warrior fans go crazy. Like, you don't just run the offense, just give it to Steph. That's what this felt like to me a little bit. Like, you know what? We'll just make Trent Taylor Debo, and we'll make this happen. And it's just now again, maybe I don't know. What do you think? Was there anything Kyle could have done?
Yeah, I mean, my one defense of Kyle Shanahan, when your quarterback immediately shows that he's not any good, once the game starts, and Jimmy, I think, is like a pitcher who just, you tell in the first inning like he's got it or not, and it was pretty clear like, this thing's gonna be shaky. Then they started calling some weird plays. Now, to call the weird plays, they have to be in. Like, in what world are you trying to run some zone read with McKinnon and Ayuk? Like, I don't like that play. Now, the throwback, that is a play a lot of teams run. I do think that is a direct reflection, though, of he doesn't trust him to just drop back and make a normal pass play.
It was a long throw, though.
It was, but it was like the fucking guy's wide open. He doesn't trust him to push the ball down the field.
Yeah.
And I think when your quarterback sucks, it limits your play calling. And you're missing your running backs, and you're missing this wide receiver that can run the ball. I'm not one on excuses because I don't think you get them. Because everyone's hurt. No one gives a shit. What does Lamar's shirt says? Work harder, no one cares. It's true. No one in the NFL cares who's hurt on your team or how your quarterback's playing. Just either get the job done or not. So, to me, Kyle was bad. I also think, sometimes maybe he gets too cute to try to protect Jimmy, where I think you can kind of meet in the middle of, maybe just do some end-arounds or something instead of these crazy plays. But I feel like I'm kind of nitpicking.
Right.
Jimmy was the problem. I don't view Kyle as the problem. And I think the first half of the game, Robert Saleh's defense playing pretty well. I know DK had the 2 touchdowns, but what else
John,
can they do?
I'm so with you. I thought his defense was fine. It's
coming to play.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was
kind
watching
of
the game
deflated
thinking,
early on when it was clear the offense was not up for snuff.
Well, I think Schlereth said,
right.
God, it's you're not used to seeing the Seahawks. What was the word he used? Lethargic. He's like, they look. Remember their first couple possessions?
They did.
Sync, and then you throw the pick, and it just kind of woke it. Then they hit DK, and it kind of woke everything up. But I was with you. I was watching the game thinking, you know what? Okay. It makes sense that Robert. I know they scored points, but we came in thinking you'd have to score like 28 to win this game. Now, ultimately, you would have needed more, but that's because you were bad, the 49ers. It was rare to see, and maybe they just reached the point. Like, they didn't have Mostert last week, but they had Debo, and they just found a way. And Kyle, he looked out of rhythm too in terms of play calling. But part of that was what you said about Jimmy. Just to see a play get snuffed out the way the Trent Taylor play had no chance. It's rare with Kyle, which is a credit to Kyle. So this is not about him. I thought what it just kind of made very clear is you got Russ, who's not going anywhere, and DK. I had a pretty stupid take last week, which was if you had to take one guy off the field, DK or Lockett, I would take Lockett off the field as a defense because he's just so consistent. DK will hit the splash plays. DK had a career-high receptions and yards, but even if he only had 5 catches and I don't know what he finished with, but at one point it was 10, was the career high. Even if he didn't, it was clear he's just Seattle will, as long as
he looks like Terrell Owens.
Well, he's even bigger, but
faster.
He's bigger, he's taller. Right?
Yeah,
one thing is clear with them is as long as they have Russ and DK and their defense is just always going to be good enough, they can just beat you on any given day if you don't have either A, playmakers that can match them in a shootout, or B, just an elite level complete team. And the Niners clearly don't have an elite level complete team, and they definitely didn't have a quarterback that could go toe-to-toe with Russ on Sunday.
DK had 12 for 161 and 2 touchdowns. Honestly, it feels low. Like it felt like he had 18 for 2 bills and 2 touchdowns.
Plays.
I think one major difference in this game is like they can just play basketball essentially and just have a 2-man game. Russell, DK, we're going to dominate you. And the Niners, like, in theory, have this premium tight end who got hurt and a quarterback that makes a lot of money. The Niners can't play that game right now. I'm watching highlights of Mahomes, and it's like he's just throwing to Kelsey. He throws to Kelsey. Just when shit's weird, he throws to 87. It's like Jimmy just – I mean, through the first half of the game, Kittle had 1 target. Kittle had ended up with 2 catches because they hit the 1 down the sideline. But he was just a non-factor. Like, I need to see George Kittle before he – I didn't know it got that bad because he made that catch. All of a sudden, he starts limping. The referees, like, felt bad for him. Like, bro, you need to get off the field. And they're like, I didn't know you were allowed to do that. Didn't even waste time out. And then I saw the Twitter headline was like, he didn't break his foot. I'm like, break his foot? What? What the fuck did this happen? But it's just, I mean, that just sums up the Niners season. But before he, quote unquote, almost breaks his foot, in a game like this, I need to throw to this guy fucking every other play.
1,000%.
What are they doing?
Well, and that goes back. That's what I was saying with my Warriors kind of Steph analogy. Is he's Steph, and it felt like they were still trying to sprinkle. We're going to do what we do and try to keep you off balance. And I don't know if this was the game to do that. Now, again, I defer to Kyle most times. But one thing, because we saw Arizona was able to do this, right, last week with Seattle's. They got Kyler, and we can just make plays. To me, DK and Russ, they're like a 80s rock band where you call plays. I mean, you do, but you could just give the ball. If you just threw the ball, if you targeted DK on every play, it would probably work out pretty well for you. You plug in the amps, you turn on the fucking volume, and you just let them rip. And the 49ers, even when they're full strength, they're more kind of a symphony, right? Where Kyle has to pull all these strings, and it's going to be about rhythm, and they've got playmakers, but it's not the same. Like, that's clearly what a Kyle team, like, they just
You know why? Because it's like, if Alyssa goes out of town for the weekend, and it's like, let Guy cook, be the equivalent of like, let Jimmy cook. Ain't much cooking going on.
Ordering,
right?
But in the NFL, you don't get to outsource.
And when she comes back,
quarterbacking.
she just gets to cook. It's like, what do you want? You want this? You want that? She can make it all. It's like, Russ, you let Russ cook. Why? Because he's like Emeril Lagasse.
Well,
you let Jimmy can't cook, guy. He's got no ingredients. He doesn't have a spatula. His stove doesn't work. His Traeger is out of the little pellets. I mean, he's got nothing. And Kyle's like, what kind of groceries you want me to buy? And Jimmy's like, well, I unless you can like bring some firewood and we can make fire and cook the fucking meat. I don't have the ability to make any food.
But don't you think, like, you've done it where you cook, I cook, but unless you have, like, I could stock your fridge. You could stock my fridge. But unless you printed out the instructions for me or gave me a computer, I don't really, a real cook can just take all they don't need any, they just go, oh, you know what I know? If I do a little of this, it'll work with the acidity, will work well with the sweet, and then the umami, and the top it off with a little parsley, and, you know, they're doing
add a little vinegar here, get a little flavor,
about the little
get a little
touches. Pow. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like meat, cheese, whoop.
Yeah, but DK and Russ are just like slab of meat, salt, pepper. It's going to be the greatest steak you ever had.
Well, that's why Kyle is doing all this kind of crazy stuff, and it turns out Jimmy's the problem. And I think that makes Kyle look bad. And there was a stretch today where the defense, I'd say the one play when I almost called him Terrell Owens, when DK catches that in route and like runs by everyone.
You're talking about
Sometimes
the first touchdown?
Yeah, you just tip your hat to greatness. Like he's just hauling ass. He's faster than everybody. The other one was just they were all over him in the end zone on like the slant. Like that's just a high level play. I don't, and even some of his catches, they're all over him. They weren't getting smoked. Beside the one crossing touchdown, okay. The Niners, I mean, they had some garbage time, cool plays with Ayuk, and I think we all like Ayuk. But in the flow of the game, when it was tight, there was no like, whoa, wow, whoa. They had nothing. And I think why me and you played them in fantasy was, well, this defense is terrible. They got Kyle. They got some offensive weapons. We've seen Jimmy the last 2 weeks. Like he's clearly healthy because he's been playing. The offense is kind of coming on. I kind of bet on him just it's fucking going to be pretty easy. And then I knew right away, I'm like, oh, my God, what a –
Well, I didn't know right away because he hit Ayuk. Like, they hit Ayuk on a sweet play on their second drive. Right before he missed Kittle. Then he misses Kittle over the middle, and Schler's like, oh, Kittle's got to have that. Like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, that's – there's a lot of on football broadcasts, he's got to have that. It's like, well – he doesn't have stickum on his fingertips, and his body was running the other way, and he's like, that's an incredible catch. And I don't think it like does it justice when they do slow motion. They're like, oh my God, look how no. The guy's a 4.4 guy running full speed. The fucking quarterback throws it behind his head. He stops as he bumps into the safety. All these type plays. Like, no, I'm sorry, that's a bad throw. Like, look what Russ is doing, hitting guys in stride. Look what the other quarterback is doing. Where Kyle, and it's hard to tell, right, with the mask. I actually think this is a good year for the mask because you haven't seen Kyle drop any, like, what the fuck is Jimmy doing? You can't even – I have no clue what he thinks. Honestly, he stayed pretty, like, kind of flatlined. Like, I haven't really – you can't get a feel for it. Like, I'm guessing that he's not happy, but he hasn't really looked overly angry. Right? Which
if I can't – so you're saying
we'd be all over that if he was.
Yeah. Yeah. If I told you Kyle thinks it's all about the ankle, you'd go, okay, I guess he does because he hasn't shown otherwise.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
I
would say
that's believable. I just say I wonder if how much Kyle liked him even when he was healthy.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like we've been talking about this for a while now, and we thought people were a little over the top at the end of the year last year, especially in the Super Bowl. But we also acknowledged like what happened at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl told us a lot. I've heard a lot of NFL analysts say, you want to know what a coach thinks, watch what he calls on first and second down. Third down is different because third down is so much about necessity.
It's a must down. Yeah.
But early in the game, what are they doing on first and second down? Because that tells you what they think their game plan should be today. And, that game stayed close enough for a while that I thought I'd love to see him run the ball a little bit more. Like Jimmy threw the ball 16 times. Mullins threw the ball more than Jimmy did. Now, that's probably not even a fair comparison. By that time, they were down. But my point is just I kind of thought maybe they'd run the ball a little more early, but it was too weird of a game. Kyle was
hasty fumble. Kevin Coleman hurts his knee.
They dodged a bullet on the hasty fumble. But then he throws a pick on the next play.
Yeah. Very next play. That's when I knew like they ain't winning this game. I got that. That's when I got the feeling like
because 13-7 felt like 24-7.
Do you like that rule? That when you recover a fumble, but you're the guy touching it, but if you're out of bounds, it just goes back to the team. That feels a little unfair because it was like Seattle was all over that ball.
But if you're touching the ball out of bounds, you're out of bounds.
So then it just goes to the last guy with possession? That's the rule?
Yeah, you're just out of bounds. You're touching the ball, you're out of bounds. Same in basketball.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't count, but the next guy that falls on it was Seattle. I'm just saying, whoever is in that situation, like the ball shouldn't just be dead while it's in the field of play.
I'm good
because then the next guy came over and fell on it.
Yeah, I'm good with the ball being dead.
I feel the rule's a little unfair.
Out of bounds. You just what? You got. I'm good with the ball's dead when somebody who's out of bounds touches the ball.
Well, technically, I guess in his spot, he was kind of shoving it back into his guy, right? That's what it's trying to prevent against. A guy going out of bounds, keeping it in bounds.
But see, I don't even think that. I don't even think the rule is necessarily created thinking about that play. I just think it's you just create that rule thinking if you're out of bounds, you shouldn't be able to touch the ball while you're out of bounds.
which is fair. You're not alive.
I know, but I'm with you on that play.
I don't like the ball just automatically going back to the other team if it's just there in play.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just think the rule is so fundamental to a sport. Like, you shouldn't be able to touch the ball while you're out of bounds. It's like, yeah, of course not. But then on that play, it doesn't feel like it applied.
But that's what I'm saying. Okay, so that guy doesn't count. But then they had like 3 other guys who were kind of falling on the ball. Now, if you wanted to say you can't push the ball back when you're in bounds, I just think it's a little dicey. That I thought the Niners kind of got bailed out there is what I'm saying.